Welcome, dear listeners, to this reflective interlude, a pause to honor the passage of time, the journey we've taken together, and the slow rooting into deeper, wilder wisdom along the way. This past year has been rich with conversation, story, listening, questioning, and leaning into mystery. I am profoundly grateful to each of you for being a part of this humble unfolding. Your presence has shaped this project into a growing, vibrant space, and I'm in awe of how far we've come together. With thousands of downloads across more than 50 countries, this web of connection continues to expand. Thank you for listening, for reaching out, for sharing. Your presence and support means more than words can express. It has been an immeasurable honor to sit with the guests of this project, engaging in meaningful, meandering dialogues that have each offered their own unique vital nutrient for my growth. And I hope that it has been similar for you. In this interlude, we will weave together the voices of some of these guests, blending their words with my own to create a thematic narrative of what this project has been about over the past year. So today we gather the threads, not to tie them into something final, but to see what patterns have begun to emerge. I've heard it said to always return to the origin before beginning something new. So we take this moment to look back and reflect before stepping forward, to honor and celebrate what has been, welcoming what is yet to come. Zlatka Cholakova reminds us that when we are curious, we are naturally more open. When we pause, we create space to hear our own wisdom. May this interlude be just that, a space of pause, curiosity, and listening for the opportunity to be changed, to be invited into a deeper, fuller sense of self and other. And in the spirit of transformative listening and reflection, I want to share an offering that has been quietly ripening in my heart. I'm calling it a year to live. This will be an intimate group of 5 or 6 folks journeying together with honesty, vulnerability, integrity, intention, and care, living this next year as if it were our last, a space to truly befriend death as an ally, discovering how its presence can deepen our capacity to fully inhabit life. At its heart, this space is a journey of deepening our relationship with our own becoming and belonging, learning to embrace the messy middle of what it means to truly live, love, and craft our stories with beauty and authenticity. Over the course of the year, we will explore this journey, with each month unfolding a simple yet profound experience of ritual death and rebirth, held by each other along the way. While the commitment spans the year, we will gather as a group just a couple of times a month, with one-on-one sessions with me once a month or more if desired. So if you feel called to walk this path with us, a year to live, I'd love to connect with you. Reach out to schedule a free insight call, and we can explore whether this container is right for you. And regardless, there'll be more details to follow in the coming weeks. So stay tuned and stay curious. Before we dive deeper, I also want to invite you to subscribe to the project if you haven't already. If this project resonates with you at all, please consider sharing it with someone who you think might find meaning in it. And if you know someone who would make a great guest, I'd love to hear from you. I'm also very excited to introduce a new Substack publication, which I'm calling Hearth Woven. There I'll be eventually offering essays, poetry, extended podcast episodes, and extra content from this project. For now, everything will be freely available, but soon there will be a low paywall for certain offerings. It's an opportunity to support and sustain this work in a way that feels reciprocal. So if you'd like to follow along, I'd love to have you there. I'll be publishing my introductory essay soon. You can find links to all of these, anything I mentioned today, in the show notes. Additionally, I'm going to be hosting another virtual event at the end of May. The exact date is to be determined. Rise and Revitalize will feature 4 incredible guest speakers offering talks centered on harnessing inspired spring energy as we transition into the budding fullness of summer. This will be a space of renewal, focused on wellness and rising into greater wholeness through deep conversation, guided practices, and wisdom sharing. We will explore ways to nurture vitality, balance, and inspired purpose in our lives. So I hope that you'll join us in this exploration and celebration of renewal and revitalization. Thank you, truly, for being here. Your presence absolutely shapes this journey. So let's continue listening, questioning, unfurling, and discovering together. So, as we reflect on the journey we've taken together this year, a central rhythm emerges: the cycles of life, the constant ebb and flow, the falling apart, and the rising again in unexpected forms. This interplay between death and regeneration has woven itself through so many of our conversations, revealing the beautiful, painful tension of transformation that defines these times. Joe Brewer reminds us that collapse is a breakdown and a renewal of a different kind of stability and pattern. And in that wild wisdom, we recognize that every unraveling holds the seeds of something new. The dissolution of old structures isn't an end, but an opening, a threshold into the unknown, into fresh possibilities and potential. Seeds to sprouts, sprouts to trees, trees to seeds. So the threads weave. Ganga Devi Braun deepens this perspective by saying that when we cultivate a regenerative orientation to the world, we begin to notice not the problems, but the potential of whatever situation we are in. This shift is powerful. It turns our gaze away from breakdown and chaos to emergence and coherence. It invites us to listen more closely for the subtle signs of life secretly innovating, for the quiet sprouting beneath the rubble. And then there's the stark truth Manda Scott lays before us. She says that the current system is not fit for purpose. It probably never has been, and it definitely isn't now. Her words echo the disillusionment so many of us feel toward the crumbling internal and external structures that we've inherited. Joe Brewer again offers a parallel truth when he says that you don't need to be scared of collapse. Everyone alive today was born into planetary collapse. If collapse is what defines these times, if death and decay are knocking at the door, then perhaps what follows is a sacred call of sorts to willingly and creatively make beautiful ruins, to turn toward the vitality that lives inside all endings, all change and transformation, to reimagine, to dream new ways of being, new systems aligned with the sacred, rooted in resilience, reciprocity, and regeneration, and to do the messy, devoted work of aligning with them, knowing the full fruits of our efforts may not be ours to taste, but are holy offerings for our children, grandchildren, and the next 7 generations. In this way, death and collapse becomes a kind of living prayer. As Angel Deer so poignantly reminds us, you can plant a seed and at the same time pray for the collapse of the empire. To hold both the unraveling and the renewal at once is the life-giving paradox of our times. We are witnesses to decay, yes, but also stewards of new life. We are humble gardeners learning the slow, often awkward work of composting material that has strayed so far as to be nearly inorganic. And we can do it. We are capable, especially when we align ourselves with the flows and forces of earthen powers. Even more so when we're humble enough to cultivate trust and faith in life. As Rosemary Traumer so simply and beautifully asks, why would I not trust life? It would be like a seed evading the rain or a sunflower trying to unfurl while avoiding the sun. To trust the natural spiraling cycles of life and death is essential in these times. Just as the sunflower must weather storms to eventually bloom its bloom and surrender to death to seed and bloom again, we too are called to stand in the midst of our challenges, trusting that something new is already on its way. So where in our lives is something naturally dying and quietly regenerating beneath the surface? In the dark, in the unseen spaces, where are seeds already taking root? How might we cultivate deeper trust in the process, even when the path feels uncertain, unclear, unknown? What is our unique expression of service in this now moment? What is ours to tend, to build, to bless? And how might we dream of something truly life-affirming from these beautiful ruins we are making together? As we continue weaving through the threads of this past year, we arrive at a theme that's at the very heart of our conversations: the power of myth, storytelling, and meaning making. Myths have long been our guides, maps not only revealing the depths of who we are, but also the depths of being needed to move forward into uncertainty, crafting futures informed by patterns older than time itself. Stories are vessels of perennial wisdom, living expressions of culture, and soulful mirrors reflecting back our collective and personal journeys. Vincent Stanzione offers that myth is a map of being, reminding us that myths are not just ancient tales of some lost time and place. They are living, intelligent maps that help us navigate both our inner and outer landscapes. They provide a visionary language for the ineffable. The things that shape our experience can't be easily expressed. Stories are how we understand ourselves, the world around us, and our place within it. They orient us toward the good, the true, the beautiful. Simon Ugler expands on this when he says that myths are alive. Take a step towards a story, and it will take a step towards you. This powerful image captures storytelling as the dynamic force that it is. Stories are not static. They are living entities waiting for us to engage, to deepen, and enter into reciprocal relationship. When we take a step toward them, they reach out to meet us, responding and evolving as we ourselves change. The relationship between us and the stories we tell is co-creative, an ongoing conversation that evolves in real time. Ian McIntosh speaks to the timelessness of storytelling when he says that stories never end. They just continue, evolve, and become something new. The narratives we inherit don't have fixed conclusions. They evolve with us, becoming something new with each telling, each sharing. We are a part of an infinite narrative, really, made up of infinite sub narratives. And our contributions continue to shape the collective story. Our unique capacities for storying matter more than we can know, as they help shape the living system of cosmos. Jan Blake captures the essence of this beautifully when she says that the most important thing is to give life to the stories and see how far you are able to go in service of them. So this is an invitation to breathe life into the stories passed down to us, to serve them with reverence and embodied awareness and presence. When we engage with stories, we do so not merely as passive listeners, but as active participants, allowing them to guide us, to teach us, and carry us to new places, new ways of being and relating. So, what stories shape our understanding of the world? Which ones have guided us to this point in our lives? And perhaps more importantly, which stories do we need to rewrite or reclaim? What essential narrative threads have been silenced, forgotten, or distorted? And how can we breathe new life into them? As we reflect on the power of myth and story, let's seriously consider the narratives we are living, the ones we want to carry forward and continue to grow with, and those we are ready to release or compost, creating fertile ground for new, more aligned narratives. Moving deeper into the themes of this year's conversations, we find ourselves returning to the body over and over again, to the wild wisdom that lives within us. Because, of course, we are not merely thinking brains wandering through abstract concepts and ideals. We are carnal, sensing, feeling beings, moving with the world in richly layered interrelationship. Our bodies are not separate from the world in any way. They're magnificently woven into it. We are emanations of earthly flows and forces, children of patterns and processes that are ancient, entangled, and alive with intelligence. Oak Mountain says that presence is the portal to truth, reminding us that everything we need begins with our awareness of this moment, our ability to inhabit the now with full attention and a willingness to be saturated in truth. It is through embodied presence that we meaningfully participate in and co-create with the dreaming of Gaia. Tim Matz puts it plainly. He says, you can't escape your biology. You can't escape your animality. We can't separate ourselves from the rawness of our biology. It is the foundation of our being. In recognizing this, we remember the importance of embracing our animal nature, our instincts, our senses, our felt sense, knowing, and the sacred gifts that come from inhabiting and a breathing, pulsing body. So speaking to our innate need for connection, Darsha Narvaez offers a tender reminder. She says, we are social mammals. And social mammals need a lot of cuddling, play, and close connection. Our well-being depends on nourishing physical and emotional and relational contact. As embodied beings, we thrive on touch, on closeness, on the kind of nurturing relationships that root us in safety and open us to the deeper yearnings of the soul. We also need meaningful conversations, which is why you're here, of course. exchanges that support one another in uncovering deeper layers of self and other, conversations shaped by enriching questions and held with devotional listening. Katie Gray speaks to the wild essence at the core of our being when she says, "The wild essence of your being is the unafraid radiance of life force energy that is pulsating through all of us." This untamed essence, the radiant living energy that pulses through our DNA, is our connection to Earth's creative power and thus to our deepest selves. It is a reminder we are not here to be confined, civilized, controlled, contained. We are here to move, feel, and express the full uniqueness of our aliveness. So, how do we invite more embodied presence into our lives? How do we return to the natural rhythms of our bodies and how they move through landscape? Whether through movement, touch, stillness, even, or deepening our connection to elemental forces, there's a call here to return to the carnal self, to listen to the stories etched in our sinew, in our bones, and to tend to the real, often unmet needs of our animality together. True embodiment is a rugged, reverent path, one that leads us deeper into the wisdom of our wild hearts and into the pulsing heart of the world itself. And when we choose to walk this path, we welcome a more vital, vibrant, and integrated life. Belonging has also been a core theme throughout the year. And as we explore it, we really touch a universal yearning of the human heart, the desire to find our place in the world, to feel connected to a larger story, and to know we are not alone in our journey of becoming. Belonging is not only about intentional community or fitting into a specific group or family dynamic. It's about understanding our unique vital role in the vast web of life and feeling truly held and supported in becoming who we are meant to become. Our longing for belonging is sacred, and sometimes it hurts more than we can think we can bear. But the medicine is in the pain. Seth Hughes speaks to this ache when he says, "I can create and weave stories around belonging because I know the theme of lacking belonging." We all understand that lack, don't we? The sense of being displaced, disconnected, of not fully fitting into the rigid man-made systems that engulf us. Yet within the ache is an invitation to courageously weave new stories of belonging, even if they arise from the very longing itself, to co-create spaces where we can connect, collaborate, share dreams and stories, heal, and remember our place in this wild, wild world. Elena Natalia reminds us that we are all indigenous to Earth. We all belong to this lineage. Truly, we have never not belonged, for we are of Earth. Regardless of our cultural origins, we belong to the great web of life. We always have, we always will. Can you feel it? Our roots run deep into the earth and are in constant communion with the mycelial meanderings that underlie all living systems. When we remember this, we reclaim a belonging that transcends time, place, and people, culture. True culture is born of this kind of reclamation. It asks for a change in perception, a renewal of our sense of self, a conscious shift from ego identity to eco identity. This shift can only arise through participation and commitment to building reverent, reciprocal relationships with the more than human world. Brooke Fenton reminds us that the plants open up a conversation non-verbally with the elements. And the plant nations are always beckoning to us. In these times of uncertainty, especially, remembering their presence is vital. They are our elders, our oldest teachers, our trusted guides and companions. And there's a language of the senses, a form of communication that bypasses words and speaks directly to the heart. We can tap into it by slowing down enough to truly listen. And truly listening means being willing to be changed forever. And the plant nations are beckoning us into this kind of change, this kind of transformation. So, of course, it's not only the plants we must reconnect with, that we must truly listen to, because all elemental forces are asking for our attention. When I asked Joe Brewer what he thinks has the capacity to teach us everything we need to know, he said, follow the water. You can feel it, the suffering of our waterways, their neglect and pain. They need our care. They need our presence, our listening love. So how do we really honor this sacred longing for belonging? Not just to people, but to place, to time, to a story that will sustain us in these troubled times and support future generations. How do we cultivate a felt sense of being in right relationship with all that enfolds us? Belonging is not something we seek outside of ourselves necessarily, but something that I think we need to awaken from within. In this way, it's a practice of remembering, of tending to our innate connection with earth, with landscape, with waterways, with the many peoples, human and non-human, who accompany us in the great unfolding. When we turn toward the sacredness of breathing aliveness right here, right now, we begin to bloom into belonging naturally. And when we remember that we are part of a larger whole and that our part truly matters, we can step into life with greater presence and purpose, deeper connection, and a rooted sense of being indigenous to this moment, indigenous to this place, to this now experience, to this earth. And for our final thematic thread, we turn to the power of paradox, the ache of loving and living in dark and troubled times, and the creative wisdom of the trickster within, the one who plays with opposites, challenges certainty, rattles rigidity, and invites us to dance in the holy unraveling. The trickster isn't bound by rules or form. They travel between the known and the unknown, wander through binaries, and find freedom in the spaces between the sacred and the profane. They remind us that transformation lives in the tension of polarity. And Jaldir tells us that only the heart can dwell with opposites. The heart holds contradiction without demanding resolution. It knows how to bear grief and joy, chaos and clarity, love and loss, all at once. The heart is a trickster. Kala Hill says heartbreak is a medicine. At first, this may feel counterintuitive, but when heartbreak is allowed to move through us, it becomes a kind of portal. We become a kind of portal. We crack open to life. The soil of our longing is tilled, and we awaken our capacity to feel the vast depths of love. Grief invites us further into the miraculous mystery of living, loving, and writing our lore. Joshua Wright reminds us that not turning away is the first step towards action. That even when it hurts, turning towards life, toward our pain, toward each other, toward the world, is a radical act. In this kind of turning, we co-create the conditions for regenerative pathways to emerge. Waira offers that in order for us to build beautiful ruins, we have to tap into that beautiful and humble curiosity. Sometimes we must let things fall apart. We compost the old and surrender it to life's intelligence. In that courageous humility, space opens for new life to emerge, life we couldn't have predicted. Spring always comes in her own wild way. Patrick Saline says that the capacity to hold paradox is central if we are to be cultivators of peace. Peace in this way is not the absence of conflict, but the holding of sacred space where contradiction can breathe and creation becomes possible. It's not about fixing everything, but about learning to live in the messy middle. Peace is the undertow of the balanced heart, calm beneath the swirl, moving according to its nature toward a more beautiful world. And what of hope? It's certainly not a tidy, linear path. Hope is a wild, unruly force. As Bayo Komalafe says, hope is a trickster. True hope holds hands with hopelessness. It doesn't wait for certainty. It simply does the next right thing again and again, knowing that this is enough. So, what in your life is asking you to let go of control and trust the mystery? Where are you being invited to loosen your grip, soften your certainty, and simply be with what is? When we live from the heart, welcome that potent trickster energy and embrace the creative capacity of paradox and the grief and love of being alive in a time of dying, we open to beauty, to grace, and to the kind of creative courage it takes to walk the only path we truly have, our own soul's path, our heartfelt path. As I reflect on this past year, I'm struck by the gifts that have emerged, not only through conversations with remarkable guests, but also in the quieter, more intimate corners of my own heart. It's been a year of deep remembering, of stretching into new territories of thought, feeling, and connection, and of surrendering to the questions. Eric Elms offers this beautiful reminder. He says, you have a place in this world, a place where everything comes together in your body and you disappear into a seamless whole. So when we learn to listen with our whole being, free of masks, free of posturing, free of ideals, free of shoulds, we begin to feel the contours of real reality. We come together not just in the body, but in spirit, in presence, in kinship. And paradoxically, it's through this kind of dissolving that Eric speaks to, through softening the edges of self, the rigidity of self, that we become more whole, that we become more seamless, we become more integrated. The invitation then is not to disappear in disconnection, but to disappear into integration, to let ourselves be carried by the current of life all the way home. Rosemary Trauma reminds us that it's important to honor what the practice really is, showing up with wonder, curiosity, openness, spaciousness, with a love of mystery. More than anything, this has been the practice of this year, showing up not to fix or control, but to wonder, to meet each moment, each guest, each silence, each unknown with a curious, open heart, with a receptive responsivity. And in doing so, the mystery becomes less of a riddle to solve and more of a presence to befriend. The disorientation, the rupture, the not knowing, all of it becomes compost for something new. The unknown becomes not a void to fear, but a teacher to appreciate. And growth, evolution, rather than something we strive for, becomes something that we allow, something that we nurture and nourish naturally. This year has revealed to me again and again that something essential is always moving beneath the surface of things. Something unseen, but unmistakably alive and felt. Threads are being woven, even if we can't see the whole pattern. We never fully arrive, do we? We're always somewhere in the middle of our becoming, always breathing into something unfinished, always in the making. And there's a certain beauty, an aching, luminous beauty in what remains unfinished, in what is still tender, still forming, still unknown. It's here in this liminal kind of openness that we meet the truth. This is the fertile ground where possibility grows wild and untamed. Bayo Komalafe speaks to the nature of the work ahead with this insight. He says, repair, to pair again with other alliances, making us alive in ways that we didn't know, that we don't even know how to speak to yet. This to me is the heart of it. This work of repair, this work of remembering, not just within ourselves, but in our relationships, our communities, our landscapes, our connection to Earth as a whole and the unseen world that sustains it. It is the work of reweaving, of becoming porous to wonder, to grief, to joy, to life, to love. And as we enter this mysterious terrain, we begin to feel into a different kind of aliveness, one that exceeds language and breaks open new ways of being together. Seth Kaufman offers a grounding reflection when he says, our core values become a funnel that we get to make decisions through. And these words really bring me back to the soft center of why I'm here, back to this curious question of alignment. What do I truly stand for? What stars do I navigate by, especially when the way is unclear? I find myself returning to these questions again and again, reimagining what it means to live in deeper integrity with the values that matter most to me. This project is not a platform, but a practice. I hope you can feel that. It's a way of listening more deeply to what wants to move through. So I find myself now sitting with even more questions that feel important to me. What is calling me at this threshold? What feels most alive in the field of my awareness now? How might I attend more deeply to the weight and wisdom of that awareness as I orient toward a second year of this work? What is truly mine to offer, to share, to facilitate? Whose voices long to be amplified through this space? And so I wonder, what new layers will reveal themselves? What deeper inquiries will rise to the surface? What wild, uncharted territory might we explore together next? These are the questions I carry as I step into this next chapter, and I carry them with a sweetened joy, with a real curiosity, and with reverence for all that is still beautifully becoming. So again, thank you for being here with me on this journey of Wild Heart Revival. It's such a gift in my life and I hope that it is in yours too. And I think we'll end the interlude weaving of the year's threads at that. And I just want to remind you of the other work that I do in my life. Not only did I offer those offerings at the beginning of this new container coming up, A Year to Live, as well as the virtual event at the end of May, date to be determined, and the new Substack publication, Hearth Woven, but also that I offer counsel work to individuals and couples that I call threshold counseling for wanderers, and edgewalkers. And it's really deeply meaningful to me. It's so important in my life because it offers me the opportunity again and again to hone my gifts and to be in service in the way that I know how. And it's an online practice at this point, and it's rich and meaningful and deep and sweet and beautiful and soulful and incredibly heartfelt. And if you sense that you're at an important threshold in your life, or that you want to uncover an important threshold in your life, consider reaching out and starting a conversation with me. As I've said before, I offer free insight calls, and we can just meet together and see if there's a natural alignment. No pressure. All my clients are so aligned with me and the work that I offer. I don't take on clients where there isn't a resonance, because that's not how the work works. So just want to mention this at the end here, that my vocation really at this time is being with people in meaningful, soulful processes of reclaiming the wild wisdom of their heart and the transformative power of thresholds. And so carry that with you and see if it stimulates any kind of curiosity, and reach out and take that step, even if it feels uncertain or scary, and just see what arises, what comes into being through our coming together. And it'd be such an honor to walk alongside you for a time during a pivotal time in your life. So I'll end it at that. There's incredible conversations coming up on this project. I have some in the bank, and more scheduled for this month and next month, with just beautiful people. And I know you're going to love it. So stay tuned. Thank you for being here with us, and bless your heart and your way.